How is everybody doing? Thank you for joining us today, and with me as usual is Mr.
Motese, your favorite economist.
Yes, the economist.
Yeah.
The economist. Yeah. So today we want to look at what is happening currently in our country. Everybody's crying. Well, I just heard that we have more what we call the morning price, afternoon price, night price. That's the cost of commodities. Now, what I'm asking and which we want to address here is the problem actually with the presidency or with the traders or the businessmen who is actually causing this rise in cost of commodities like rice? Just check out today, cost of rice, a cup of rice, a cup of beans has gone so high, basically everything, even in the medicine store.
Services.
You understand?
Services.
Look at how many tablets for 100 naira worth of paracetamol now. I mean, it's so outrageous.
Sure.
So as an economist, that's why I brought you here, and that's why I keep asking you to follow me, so that I will not get lost.
Exactly.
All right. So your analysis, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kalishi, for having me on set. It's always a pleasure being here, to talk about the state of the nation.
Yes.
It is no longer news, like you've said, that the cost of living has skyrocketed in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Even the newborn baby can almost feel the impact of the rising cost of living in our dear country today. And so, responding to your question of who is to be blamed, is it the government
or is it the traders businessmen,
or consumers? All right, who is to be blamed? The truth of the matter is that this is not time to throw blames. All right, at anybody, whether the government, the traders, or even the consumers. Everybody shares in the problem. All right, has a common share in the problem. But let's start with how all this started. All right, how all this started. I believe that will help us to understand the flow of the problem. All right. Now, if you look at the issues that are prevalent now in the economy, which inflation is one of the core. All right, one of the core. The rising cost of prices of goods and services in the country. You will realize that there is a root cause for it. It is traceable to something. We are coming from somewhere, all right? We had the last administration and we knew where prices were. What the price of fuel was, what the price of a bag of rice was, what the price of cement was, and so on. So what has happened? What happened that triggered the surge in the price of these items and many more? No, so that will help us understand where we are coming from. All right. First and foremost, you remember when this current administration came on board last year, the 29th of May, the leader of the administration, the APC-led administration, dear President Tinubu, declared subsidy gone. All right, so that is on one side, right? Now, on the other end, apart from transportation, there are so many industries, plants that use this energy in running their production process. So what happens when the cost of energy goes up? It will ultimately affect the prices of goods and services offered by those industries. All right, and then if you check again, you will discover that at some point the president, the government free floated the exchange rate. All right, the exchange rate was free floated, allowing the forces of demand and supply to interplay in the global market to determine the rate at which the naira will exchange for the dollar. Exactly. And such crucial decisions are supposed to be taken with much or thorough examination. You don't just free float a currency without taking into cognizance certain factors. One of them is the composition of your exports. You see, because when you free float the local currency in relation to other foreign currencies, you are not allowing it to interplay in the global market. And if the composition of your export is not strong enough, all right, if it is just raw materials, agricultural produce, you will not, it will not be strong enough to compete with other standard currencies in the global market.
Seriously?
And it will cause the local currency to continue to
rise.
Yes, to fall before other currencies. You must have heard of the naira falling before the dollar. All right, that is what happens.
That's what happens.
Exactly. So we need to look at the composition of our export as a country. What are we exporting? What is the volume of our export? What is the value of our export in the international
So
market?
are we exporting anything as well?
We do export. We export crude oil. We export, other minerals. We export other agriculture like cocoa, rubber, granite.
Solid mineral resources.
Yeah, we don't export much of it. But Nigeria is endowed with so many solid minerals.
Yes,
but it's quite unfortunate that we are not harnessing these resources the way we are supposed to.
We don't regard it.
Yes.
All we just regard is the oil, the crude
because
oil.
that accounts for a greater percentage of our revenue, our federal revenue for our country. But because of the dwindling oil market now, even the prices of, the revenue accruing from the sale of oil is reducing. And that is why you see that the government is now falling on borrowing or resorting to borrowing, running a deficit budget. Where the proposed expenditure exceeds the estimated revenue to be realized.
All right, let me just come in here.
Yes.
All right, you dwell so much on industrialization and all that. How about, let's calm down.
Okay.
This farming season.
Yes.
Very soon the corn, the maize, they will all come up. You do understand? And we are anticipating that the cost of maize is also going to be on the high side, which to me is unreasonable because we don't need all these things to produce the maize. You understand? Or items like curry, cassava, and all that. You understand?
Yes.
Which I think the thing that might really affect it to a certain extent is the cost of transportation. But even when you come to look at it, transportation has not really increased much.
Okay.
You understand? It hasn't really increased much. So because it hasn't really increased much, do you think that the cost, there's going to be an unrealistic rise in the cost of garri, maize, and what have you?
Okay. From the economic angle, we will be concerned with the aggregate supply of these items to serve demand, rising demand. This is a time where most persons are adopting personal austerity measures, cutting down frivolous expenses, to give attention to basic. Most persons are adopting personal austerity measures, cutting down frivolous expenses, to give attention to basic needs, basic necessity like food, all right? And that is what we are looking at, So everybody seems to be going back, food. Let's forget about all these other luxurious items and all that, and let's focus on what we have on the table to feed, all right? And so talking about maize, garri, and all of that, I think that the issue here is that there's been a decline in the production of these things over time. You understand? Most persons are now farming for personal use, not for commercial use. Because of the rising cost, of farming. And if you even look at it nationally, you will discover that we have a very, very important problem to address, and that is the problem of insecurity, especially in the food producing states. We have insecurity challenges in Zamfara, in Benue, in Kebbi, in Taraba, and other parts of North, all right, and even the Southeast. See, most of the food items are being imported from these states. And because of the prevalent insecurity issues, insurgency, banditry, and so on, there's been a decline over time of the quantity, the volume of production of these items.
So does that justify why we should not expect for?
Yeah, because the supply now has reduced compared to the demand. Like I told you when I started, people are now demanding more for food. Whereas
the
supply is not increasing at the same pace.
And as a result,
there's some kind of scarcity,
The
a gap between the supply.
In other
and
words, the
demand.
center no longer holds.
Exactly.
Well, right now, if I leave this man is ready to talk for the next hour.
Oh my God.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
and
thank you.
We shall continue from where we stop next time. So, thank you, Mutense, for
Thank you
coming
so
on
much for
set.
having me on set.
Thank you. I'm Casey.
Thank you for listening.